Today we're diving into the maestro, Charlie Adelson.
I have a whole routine with my son. I think it's normal with kids. You have a routine to put them to bed.
Right.
You gotta brush your teeth. Can't forget to brush your teeth.
Yeah. A little dental humor couldn't hurt, right?
What's that?
Does your mom have a favorite child?
She says she doesn't have favorites, but I don't think she likes my older brother.
Okay. But is Wendi the favorite?
I'd like to think it's a tie between me and her. I think maybe in different parts of my life, she's probably more concerned about me. Different parts of my sister's life, she may be more concerned about her. I think she'd get upset when my sister would tell her things that Danny was doing and going to work, and bad-mouthing her, but I think any parent would get upset.
And what was the first worst decision of Wendy's life?
I thought looking at hindsight 2020, I think when she'd agreed when she married Dan.
Did she call him an asshole?
Yes.
A narcissist?
Yes.
A bully?
Yes.
Religious zealot?
Yes. That I don't remember.
Page 5.
Okay. Is it page 5 from the first email?
Yes, if you'll just go through by the physical pages.
I see. Yes.
Fucker?
Yes.
I just love that last clip of Charlie. Welcome back to Moms for Justice. I am Carolyn. Thank you for joining me today. I am doing a deep dive video on Charlie Adelson and his childhood, his upbringing, his schooling, his venture into dentistry, and then obviously into an adult life of excess, indulgence, lots of money, drugs, and women. Before we start, make sure you guys are liking this video right now. Give me a subscribe, like, share us, whatever you need to do. I just so appreciate you guys. The outpouring of love and support has been really amazing. So thank you so, so much. Charlie Adelson was born on October 27th of 1976. That makes him 49 years old right now. Okay, so he was born and raised in Coral Springs, Florida. He's one of 3 children of Harvey Adelson and Donna Adelson, dentist and school teacher turned domestic coordinator. Okay, well, dental coordinator, because she ended up working for the Adelson Institute, which was their family business of dentistry. So anyway, Charlie's early childhood is pretty scarce, but I did find something. So the family is described as very close-knit, intensely involved in each other's lives, a dynamic that would later be highlighted by prosecutors. Now, let's set the scene. So Charlie, he was once a skinny, scrawny kid in elementary school, middle school, that time. He was a bit of a dork and kind of got lost in the shuffle. So he's the middle child. Robert Adelson is the oldest, and he was the golden boy for a while. And then the youngest is Wendi, who ends up going on to being like the golden girl, and the girl that Donna pretty much invests all her time into. And it's like, and I've talked about this before about Charlie. Charlie is very much like Fredo from The Godfather. The one who got passed over, right? The one who they didn't really take seriously. He's kind of a bozo, the clown. He did just okay in school. In fact, he didn't really show the promise that Robert and Wendi were showing at an early age. He was kind of the one who slacked a little bit. Robert was, academically thriving, and Wendi was like, the cute little girl that wanted to do charity, had straight A's, was very active in the Jewish community, a golden girl, pretty much. So anyway, Charlie, he gets passed over. He really does. He gets passed over, and I think he always felt he had no respect from anybody in his family. And he was, at one point, he sets out to prove everybody wrong. This once skinny, scrawny, dorky kid, and that's important because it becomes part of his identity later when he goes to work out and build muscle and all that. A common thing that you see young kids, if they're picked on or they're told, oh, you're a little dork, or, those kids that get beat up for their lunch money, right? I don't know if he was beat up for his lunch money, but he'd be the type of kid that would be beat up for his lunch money. You know what I mean? Like, nobody took him seriously is what I'm getting. And that stays with a young child for a very long time. Sometimes they never get rid of it. And they develop habits later in life that is almost in retaliation from the way they were treated as a young boy. So he goes on to high school at Taravella High School in the mid-90s. Now, Jared Ross is a friend who has spoken out on STS and other channels as well, but he has been interviewed. But he was a longtime friend of Charlie and Wendi first, but then goes on to become friends with Dan Markel and Wendi when they were married. What's really kind of interesting about Jared Ross is that when he met Wendi, he dated her. Like, he took her to the movies and stuff. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And you can find lots of interviews on him where he talks about that he dated her and what kind of a girl she was. But here he is talking a little bit about life in Coral Springs, Florida. He said that he never viewed Charlie and the family as rich snobs or anything like that, that they were upper middle class. It was a very strong Jewish population. Jared Ross is from Marlboro, New Jersey, which was actually one town over from where I grew up. So I know exactly what he's talking about when he said that he and his family, when they left Marlboro to move down to Florida, they were looking for something just like Marlboro. What I remember about Marlboro, New Jersey is, yes, a very strong Jewish community. And I wouldn't even say middle class like he's saying. I think it was upper middle class. Everywhere the houses were beautiful. Everybody was part of like racket clubs, tennis clubs, and lots of shopping and just, a really great life. Here's Jared talking to Joel from STS, Surviving the Survivor. Thank you so much for the footage. Here you go.
When we ended up moving to South Florida, my parents pretty much chose somewhere very similar to where I grew up in Marlboro. It was upper middle class, good Jewish population, fellow member of the tribe here. So, we came down to Florida looking for the same things that we had in New Jersey. And Taravella, Coral Springs kind of provided all that. But it was, there were some prominently wealthy people there, but there were also very middle-class people. And I never thought Wendi and Charlie kind of stood out as, rich snobs or anything like that. I mean, they just fit in the Coral Springs community. They were just like a whole lot of other people that lived in Coral Springs, and were a well-to-do Jewish family in Coral Springs.
Very interesting.
And so you were in high school, you're at Taravella High, and do you recall kind of your first encounter, how you got to know Charlie? How big was the high school, all of that?
It's a fairly big high school. I think we had over 600 people in our graduating class. I looked at the yearbook recently. I'm not at home right now, or I'd pull it out and show you, but it's a thick yearbook. It's probably, maybe 2,000 kids, more than 2,000 kids between 9th and 12th grade. I had a class with Charlie. I couldn't even remember which one to be honest, but that's how I first met him. Being the new kid, I really was not in anyone's quote unquote clique. So I just kind of talked to a lot of people. He seemed nice enough. He was a, taller, skinny Jewish kid. Much, I was shorter, didn't grow until between my junior and senior year, but I was a very skinny Jewish kid as well. So, we kind of, we got along, but I would not, I want to be clear, because I know how much Charlie hates when someone claims they're his best friend, as we hear in all these calls. Like shout out Ryan Fitzpatrick. But we were not friends in high school. In fact, I really didn't hang out with Charlie much until that 10-year high school reunion. And we had a great time at that reunion. I mean, at that point, we're all old enough to drink. Some people were working, others like myself were in grad school, but we had a really good time, and he was a fun guy at that reunion. In fact, my wife, commented on it, to Wendi at one time when we were hanging out, just, we really enjoyed hanging out with your brother at that reunion. So, but I did know him in high school. We were acquaintances. But I would say I probably talked to him more later on in life as we were older than at that point.
Okay, I just want to say, I have always said this, that I thought, now hang with me on this. He is a murderer. I understand that. He's a disgusting murderer, and he allegedly was with girls overseas, taking advantage of women overseas. With that aside, I want to say that I've always thought that Charlie I could see why he was the life of the party. I could see why everybody loved being around him. I think he's very funny. I think he does have a lot of charm. And I think with the wealth that he ends up developing, the cars, the boats, I mean, this is a guy that, could call you up on a Friday and say, hey, let's go to a liquor store, pick up some alcohol, get some, hot dogs and burgers to grill on my boat. And I could see why people flock to him, right? Because there are a lot of people out there that are followers and want to be around wealth and money. But aside from that, he is a funny guy. He just is. I mean, it's too bad that he got himself wrapped up in this whole mess, because I don't think Charlie did what he did for Wendi. I think he did it for Donna. I don't think he cared at all about the fact that Wendi needed to come down to Miami because, she wanted a better life and wanted. I don't think he cared. I don't think he cared. I think what he cared about is his mama wanted something from him, and how often does Donna come around and ask Charlie that that's the child she asked for help from? I don't think he was used to that. And I think when Mama Donna laid on him her agony and her sorrows and help me, I think he saw it as an opportunity to please his mom and get affirmation and a pat on the back, because I don't think Charlie was, I don't want to say he wasn't loved, but I don't think he was truly respected and celebrated the way Robert, and at one time Robert, obviously that's a whole other story, but how Wendi was being treated, just all their eggs was in Wendi's basket. Harvey and Donna's eggs were all in Wendi's basket. And I just think this guy was just struggling for his mom's love and attention, right? So I thought it was interesting that even Jared Ross's wife, who had met Charlie, had said that they had such a good time with Charlie because he is funny. He is funny, and I could totally hang out with him if he wasn't a murderer. Hang out with him and shoot the crap with him all night long and joke around, and I would probably have an absolute blast. So it's really sad that, he ended up where he is.
This is definitely not a repeat. Denisha Bradell. This is a live show coming to you live in Australia as well. So a lot of people said that about Charlie, that he was sort of a fun guy, and he's still alive. So I guess he shouldn't be talked about in the past tense. But could you ever imagine in your wildest dreams at that 10-year anniversary, where even your wife commented that you fast forward to 2023, that he would be convicted of murder? Could you ever have seen that coming?
Not at that point, no. I mean, again, when you're in a school, and I don't know what Terabella is like now. Obviously, I graduated. We're coming up on our 30th high school reunion, which Charlie won't be at. But we're coming up on that. And when I was at Terabella, you don't think of any of those people ending up in prison for the rest of their life for for putting together a hit. It's just insane. But if I could tell you a quick story, we were talking about it at lunch today. I'll never forget. I remember the day that Danny was shot like it was yesterday for a couple of reasons. Number one, when someone and we're fairly close with had something like this happen, you remember it. But also, my wife was 9 months pregnant with my son. My son was born July 22nd, so 4 days after this happened. So every day around that time is very clear in my mind. And I remember sitting in my office, and I would check in with my wife. Are you feeling? You ready to go? And I logged on at my computer to Tallahassee Democrat, and I saw shooting on Trescott, and I was like, oh wow, and so I called my wife, and I was like, hey, did you see there was a shooting on Trescott? And she's like, oh my gosh. And I said, that's where Danny and Wendi lived when they were married. At the time, I didn't know if Danny still lived there. I knew Wendi didn't, but I didn't know if Danny still lived in that house. The next morning, I remember logging onto Facebook, and I'll say her name only because she's been mentioned on this show before. But Tamara, I saw a post from her on Facebook because her and I are friends as well. And I saw her talking about Danny and how, oh my God, I can't believe it's you, and you're such a good person, and all this. And I went in, my wife was still asleep because it was early in the morning. And again, she was about to have a baby. And I went in and I said, oh, I can't believe it. It was Danny who was shot. And she looked at me and she looked up half asleep and she goes, it was a hit. She knew it right away.
Wow.
Part of that is my wife is a criminal appeals attorney for the state, so she deals with this stuff all the time, but she just knew it. And it was just very chilling. And even talking about it today with her, it makes the hair on my arm stand up.
In this clip, he's asking if Charlie is egotistical, or does he remember him as being egotistical?
Well, I'll tell you, and I got to give a shout out to a group of high school friends. We have a group that we are on Facebook together. We call ourselves the Jury Duty Group, and a lot of them have known Charlie even longer than I have. And so we've talked about this, and all of them have said the same thing, that he wasn't, egotistical. He was goofy. It wasn't like he was, thought he was better than everyone else. I think a lot of the ego came later on.
Yeah.
When Charlie went to college and he started working out a lot, and then he became a very successful and wealthy dentist. Money will go to people's head, and I think that it was a later on in life thing. It was not him growing up. Was he the golden child? I don't think he was the golden child. I think Wendi has always been the golden child. And Wendi is. You heard Jeff Lacasse say it in both his interviews and also on the stand. She's a very engaging person. And like I said, we became very close when she was in Tallahassee. We hung out a bunch, spent Jewish holidays with them. And she is just someone that she can make you feel very important in the moment when you're with her.
Do you hear that? No, we know all about that. And I don't want this video to go too far into the Wendi realm because it's supposed to be about Charlie, but it's just, Wendi always creeps back in, doesn't she? I mean, you hear him. Even he's saying it. Back then, she was such a charmer that you could just, in the way he's talking, it's like this glowing manner about how she can like get under people's skin, right? That is what we have heard about now or recently, but this has gone back years, like back to when he knew her in high school. It's, I think there are other guys out there from high school, like he said, the jury group or the jury duty, whatever group that he's part of, that some of the people in that group know Wendi and Charlie better than he did. I wish, please, if you're listening right now, call me, email me, please. I'm dying to talk to you. Anyway, yes. So very interesting that Jared Ross is pointing that out. I will not hold this up any further. We'll go right back to it.
And I think she does that to everybody. And it's one of her manipulative moves. And she's probably going to unfriend me on Facebook now that I'm doing this and said this.
Wendi
I checked just before. We're still connected on Facebook, but that's probably not going to be for much longer.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. We'll see if that happens. If you get disconnected, Courtney addicted to SDS,
I'll let you know.
Please do. Please don't make me give it up for New Year's. You won't have to because we're going to have shows every day that we are gone. The Lifeboat, my man Tommy Scoville is here. Support the Lifeboat. He's helping people get sober, doing important work, and he is
bench. That Saturday morning when I woke up and I saw that, I was just shocked, heartbroken. But as time's gone on, I mean, so I was, just kind of talking along and telling her that my son was born and, nothing to do with this and blah, blah.
A happy guy in high school, or more someone acting as though they had it all together and were happy, but not really. What I don't know if
when I was 17 when I graduated high school, so I was when 15, 16, 17, the 3 years I was at Taravella. I don't think a 17-year-old kid knows the difference between genuinely happy or acting happy. But he and Wendi both seemed like happy kids, like they had it all together. I didn't know. I know someone asked about Robert in there. I didn't know Robert at all. He's a few years older than Charlie and I are, and we were never in school together. And to be honest, until probably all this stuff started, I didn't even know there was a Robert Adelson.
Okay, I couldn't help myself, but there's a question here with Jared Ross asking about his dating history with Wendi, so I have to throw that in here.
Was Wendi Adelson, and I don't talk about that. I don't like to talk about that now. But it was nothing like serious or anything. I think I was 15, but our friend had introduced us, like I said, and I thought she was a good looking 14-year-old, and there was nothing to it. I think it was like a week or 2 week,
She dumped you?
teenage like crush thing. But as we got older, she's an attractive woman, and in fact I had friends who called her Hot Wendy. That's, you can look at her and see that she's an attractive girl if you can get past the fact that you think she had something to do with murder.
So what was she like kind of in the early years when you said you dated her? Was she just kind of like your typical teenager? What was she like?
Yeah, like I said, and I use the word dating very loosely because I don't know. I think we went to a movie one time. I can't remember, but she was super nice. And again, she was willing to give the new kid time of day, which a lot of people aren't when you get to high school. I don't know if any of y'all have been the new kid as a sophomore in high school. It's not the easiest thing in the world. But I made it out okay, and made some good friends in high school. But it was tough, and like I said, it was a quick 2 week thing, and we became friends later on in life when we met up again in 2005 in law school.
You're alive, Jared. Just be thankful for that. So college and professional training. So Charlie eventually went on to pursue dentistry. Okay, and then became a periodontist. He attended the University of Central Florida, receiving a bachelor degree in micro and molecular biology. This is in 1999. And then he went to Nova Southeastern University, from which he got his degree in dentistry. And then that was 2003. And then it confirms that he goes on to be a licensed periodontist in Florida. And he joins the family dental practice, the Adelson Institute. But, Harvey was general dentistry. And it was really like a nice added benefit to have a son that was a periodontist, because he was able to do a lot of things that Harvey would normally just refer out to somebody else. You go to a periodontist or an endodontist, or even an orthodontist, you don't get that work done in the same place as you would your dentistry. So it was really kind of a perk to go to the Adelson Institute, wasn't it? Because you could get, how many people have gum disease? A lot of people, right? I wish Jocelyn was on here right now, because she is a dental hygienist, and she is like the queen of teeth. My teeth, forget it. Like I need help on my teeth. Here is an advertisement found by By Maestro. It is an advertisement for the Adelson Institute from way back then. And you'll see some familiar faces.
What I enjoy most about our practice is restoring a person's smile. That often changes their personality and gives them a more positive outlook on life. Our practice uses the most modern dental technology, from rotary endodontics, computer-generated ceramic restorations, digital radiographs, intraoral photography, and of course, we use nitrous oxide and oral sedation for the highest level of patient comfort and relaxation.
My name is Dr. Charlie Adelson, and I am a periodontist, owner, and co-partner with my father, Dr. Harvey Adelson, who's a cosmetic dentist. What I love about what I do is being able to restore people's smiles and change the way they chew, change the way they live, and change their self-esteem and how they think about themselves on a daily basis. When a patient comes to my office, they're being treated like family, and it's also being a team approach where the hygienist, the cosmetic dentist, and the periodontist are all working together to give them the optimal result.
My name is Jennifer Catchill. I've been coming here for about 10 years. My experiences have been very positive. The staff is very professional. I came here 10 years ago to get my veneers put on, and I have been absolutely thrilled with the results. And I can't say how wonderful and professional the staff has just been. They've been really, really caring and just amazing. I would definitely recommend this place to others. I have actually recommended for people to come here. My husband has come here as well.
My name is Clint Stevenson. I've been coming to Dr. Adelson's office for about 5.5 years now. They've been phenomenal. I'm never a big fan of the dentist, but ever since I got introduced to this office, great staff, very friendly, and I always feel like I'm taken care of well. Very professional. Every time I come here, I feel like I get the full most from their attention from the staff, and Dr. Adelson is himself as well. So it's a great experience every time I come. I look forward to it as well. I highly recommend them.
How much did they get paid to say that? Did you notice they were reading from a script? They didn't even know what the heck they were reading. They were probably like, here, give you a couple $100, read from this script, let us know, let everybody know how great we are. It was a bustling practice. It really was. And then Donna was running the front desk, and he had all these, he had like a dental assistant that had been with him for like 40 years. And then there was the other girl that was working in the front desk, and everybody was very much like a family. In fact, they would go away on vacations, and then they would like pay their staff in advance and all that. But I do find it pretty interesting what the staff have to say today. I mean, we've heard them testify in the trials, but there was another interview with STS, and I'm going to go to that in a second, where actually not everything is so rosy about Charlie Adelson. And I had heard things about customers complaining that he was too rough on their mouths, and he was not the greatest periodontist. Like, his reputation was not that great. And that makes sense to me because he ends up working for many offices as a periodontist, and he's hopping around, driving all day long, sometimes to 2-3 offices to make appointments. He was taking cash, like basically avoiding having to run it through the system. He would like offer people deals if they would give you cash. I mean, this is like a little bit of a window into some corruption there, right? Like the way, like trying to avoid taxes, and that brings me to his adult years. So in late 20s, early 30s, he was very successful, and that's probably because he was moving around so much and taking cash from so many people, earning a very high income. I'll give him that. He's like a workaholic, hustle and bustle all day long. He got up early, even though he ends up being a partier at night, he still gets up early. He goes from one office to the next office, including the Adelson Institute, and he's making tons of money. So he gets really rich pretty fast. So then there's like family business ventures with Harvey. Like they're playing the stock market together a lot. They're always like making calls to each other about, hey, we need to, keep our eye on this. We need to buy this. We need to sell shares of this. There's that going on. Then they're purchasing real estate, flipping properties. They have a lot of rentals going on. I mean, these are all things I've read about. So they are very busy with their money. And the word is that they were always trying to get around having to pay Uncle Sam. Let's listen to a little bit of the former employee that worked for the Adelson Institute. Again, thank you, STS. This is provided by Surviving the Survivor with Joel. And let's take a listen to what she has to say.
Oh, yeah. You know him, obviously. Tell me again, when is the first time you met him at this Christmas party? Roughly what year?
So I believe it was around, let me think, because my daughter, so maybe 2005, 2006. And then I also saw him at another Christmas party in, just like maybe 2016 or 17 at another office in Deerfield Beach that he worked at.
Wow. And that's post crime. Ironically, when you first met him was when around the time that Wendi and Dan got married. Had you ever heard him speak about Wendi or his estranged brother Rob or his mother? Did you ever hear him talk about them?
No, never.
You did. Okay. And did you ever hear him mention the name Dan Markel?
No. So basically, my dad, who lives right by the school, by the college, he called me that night, and he said, "Do you know a dentist from Broward County named Charlie Adelson?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" And it was about, I don't know, maybe 9-10 o'clock at night. And he said, "Oh, his brother-in-law was shot. He's an FSU professor." And that's how my dad told me. I don't think he was like a suspect at that point. I could be wrong. The first time I really noticed, well, first of all, he got fired. Like one of these dentists that I know very well, she let him go because she didn't want the publicity. This is before he got arrested. This is right when the entire thing happened. But The first time I really saw him involved was when they aired the first 2020 in Dateline. He was going about his business like nothing ever happened. It was very strange.
Do you know, or did you notice, I should say, any change in his disposition after the arrest of Katie Magbanowa, which is 2016? Because apparently after she was arrested, of course, his one-time girlfriend, and she is convicted as being the, the accessory, the middle woman in all this. After her arrest, did you notice a change when you would see Charlie?
So he would come to the office that I was employed at every Thursday. And that's when, and believe me, at the time I didn't really notice. No one was really speaking to him. He was kind of, so there's a dentist that Charlie would come in every Thursday and work and see patients like for implants or whatever. And so this particular dentist, after Charlie was arrested, was still talking to him on the phone throughout the day and sending him money for his commissary. So they stayed very good friends. So I'm waiting to hear if he calls him on these jail calls. But getting back.
Wow, guys, you hear that? So when Charlie was in jail, when he was getting money from a dentist was sending him money. It's just unbelievable. Like, I did not know that till I heard this interview. So, definitely check out this interview on Surviving the Survivor. The entire interview is very good, but I'm just going to put up some of my favorite parts.
Back to what we were talking about. After Katie was arrested and the other two, I did not realize at the time, but now hindsight 2020, he acted very strange. That's when he would literally get up nonstop, go outside. And now, of course, that we're hearing the case, half those times he was probably working with me and he was outside talking to her or to his mother and those people, because he would get up, like leaving a patient wide open, blood everywhere, and go outside. It was very strange, but
Wow.
I didn't realize that till after the fact.
That's totally against protocol to leave a patient with a bleeding mouth wide, right? You just don't do that, correct? And they're on meds, right?
You do not. Yes. Well, sometimes they're on gas, nitrous oxide. They're definitely numb. The assistant would stay in the room, which a dentist can get up, but not to take phone calls and walk outside. I mean, I don't really know what the laws are, but I know that you're not supposed to ever leave a patient in a chair when they're in the middle of surgery.
And would patients ever complain about this, that he was leaving to take calls?
I took not that, but I saw several patients because remember, I'm the one that sees the patients to keep the gums healthy. So I saw several patients that would always complain about their implants or my mouth never felt the same. And I'm not just saying this because of what's going on. If he was a great dentist, I would admit it. I never heard a good compliment from any patient that he did anything on.
Yeah,
they all just felt like he rushes or he's not nice. He doesn't have a nice bedside manner. But then in the women's eyes, he was charming. I can't believe that I was in the same office building with this man so many times and he set up a murder. I don't have one doubt that he's not guilty. I believe he set it all up. And I also, if you don't mind me saying, I also think that he is turning on Wendi. Something I heard today, him talk. I've been listening nonstop. He tells Bree about that he acts like he never knew Wendi drove by that scene, and he's literally saying that's what ruined everything. I have a feeling they're going to try to twist and turn this into Wendy's the one that set it up. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling to try to save himself and his mom, they're going to say that Wendi set this up with Catherine.
So there you have it. Even out of the former hygienist's mouth that used to work with him. Most people aren't going to want to believe that the guy that they worked for so long would do something like this. And it seems like she has no doubt in her mind because of the way that he had behaved in the office, the way he treated patients, the way he was a bit of a ladies' man. I'm sure that he was like that with the girls in the office as well. But even she said, because she was listening to the calls as well, about Charlie pointing out to Bree that Wendi ruined everything for him. They'll let Wendi take the fall so him and Donna could get off. It's just really interesting to hear this, and you put it all together. It's just, yeah. Okay, so this character here is Ryan Fitzpatrick. We all know him because he testified in the Charlie Adelson trial and as recently as Donna Adelson's trial. He's a former close friend and business partner of Charlie Adelson. So the timeline is roughly around 2013, 2014, when they were the closest of friends. We later know the famous thing about Charlie complaining that when Ryan testified, he was like, he wasn't even a good friend of mine and blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, now you're not, but they were then, and that's why Ryan came forward. So anyway, he testified for the state in multiple proceedings in this case. He described Charlie as disliking Dan Markel. He noted a sharp change in Charlie's demeanor after the bump with Donna. He even recounted that Charlie said something along the lines of, "You can get away with anything if you keep your mouth shut," and this was referencing murder. He said that Charlie often paid or handled cash in stapled $1,000 bundles, and he characterized the Adelson family as unusually close and influential in Charlie's life. The interview coverage does frame him as Charlie's former best friend. Now, around the time that Charlie was dating June Umchinda, he is seen in a lot of the pictures with June and him when they're out partying and such and such. So he's absolutely telling the truth that he was super close to him at that time. And I think he had some sort of business dealings with him where it didn't fall through, and Charlie wanted money back that he had given to Ryan, and Ryan wasn't going to give him the money back. I don't know if it's because it was spent already, or maybe Ryan felt that he didn't owe the money back to him. But whatever may be, there was this major problem between the two of them where he owed Charlie money, apparently, according to Charlie, and Charlie feels that he basically got ripped off by Ryan. He also made note that after when Katie got arrested, that Charlie was definitely acting irritable, anxious, was definitely acting very strange around that time. So it supports the fact that Charlie was feeling very guilty and worried that he was next to be arrested. So now into his extracurricular activities with women overseas. Well, we know some things from Jeff Lacasse, and it has been said, and it's alleged, that Ryan Fitzpatrick and Charlie took some trips outside of the United States and had some activities with some very young girls. Okay? So as far as that goes, we will listen to a little bit about what Jeff Lacasse says regarding his extracurricular activities with girls. Take a listen.
I met her brother Charlie when I was down there in Miami for Immokalee. You may recall that I said I found him to be a very strange person, very aggressive, verbally. He takes sex tourism trips to South America to have sex with underage prostitutes.
Wait a minute, back up a second.
Yeah, he takes sex tourism trips to South America to have sex with underage prostitutes.
Sex tourism?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, South America.
I'm kind of a sheltered guy.
Well, I was shocked not only that he would tell people he did that, but that he would tell his younger sister. That was strange to me.
There is something deeply disturbing about a brother being in a hot tub with his own sister and talking about different acts that you're participating in with very young girls, and you know what I'm talking about, outside of the country. Which makes me wonder, because what does Wendi do? Wendi is an immigration attorney. She writes a book about sex-trafficked women. I would think that this would not fly very well with Wendi to be telling her something like this. So don't you find it interesting that her brother would be aggressive and a predator the way he is and would feel free to talk about that in front of his sister Wendi, who clearly is supposed to be somebody who is against trafficking of any kind? I mean, it all kind of is in the same realm, right? Which also makes me wonder if Wendi had her own revenge against her brother for what he was doing and knew that he was expendable and setting him up or planting the seed to get Charlie to do what he did for her. I don't know. You guys know where I'm going, right? I think it's really, really strange. Really strange. What if Wendi's involved in this, as we all think? She planted the seed because she wanted to get rid of her husband and had no problem with her evil brother who did these things to women to be the one to go down for it because she just didn't care about him, right? He might have been somebody that was absolutely disgusting and an embarrassment to her. Wendi is way smarter than anybody thinks. And it would make sense. You know why? It all makes sense because when Charlie went down for this, she never called him. She never visited him. Till this day, she hasn't called or visited anybody as far as we know. She didn't support him at all. Donna says on a phone call, "You don't even care about your brother. You haven't even cared or asked about your brother." Guys, it leads back to this video with Jeff Lacasse. How long was Wendi seething about what her brother was doing? He so freely told her about it, so I don't think it was the first time that Wendi ever heard anything about his extracurricular activities outside of the country. I think she knew about it. He was so relaxed to say it to her in front of her brand new boyfriend. That tells me that Wendi has heard this many times before. Because you wouldn't tell your sister that for the first time when she has a date with her that you barely know. So you're telling her. And then how long was Wendi seething inside over what he was doing? Maybe Wendi was just getting rid of everybody. And in the very end, Donna, who was a major annoyance to her, totally in her up her butt all the time, in her life all the time, constantly meddling in her business. And then Charlie, a predator, the kind of predator that Wendi couldn't stand in her workplace. This was part of her career. Come on, people, put it together. Put it together. And then she doesn't even show up to support her family when they're going down. And then she didn't even know. She didn't even know about the extortion until the day she testified in Charlie's trial. She didn't even know. So there's no excuse as to why you didn't visit him before. And then, how come you're not mad at him? How come you're not mad at him when you find out that he's behind all this? So then he meets Katie Magbanowa. And we all know that they met in around 2013, right? And he begins dating her. And it's important to know, if you don't already know, Katie was with Sigfredo Garcia and had children with him. And she was two-timing Sigfredo by sleeping around with Charlie. Again, naturally, lots of money, the boat, the Ferrari, the whole 9 yards. I get it, and she didn't have a pot to pee in, right? So he had money. She was going where the money was. Then in Halloween on 2013, he asks her, knowing that she is around people from the wrong side of the tracks because she has already complained about Sigfredo and told him a bunch of stuff about Sigfredo and the kind of people that he hangs out with. So then he asks her on Halloween night, "Do you know anybody that could take care of a problem for me, that could get rid of somebody for me?" And then she says yes. And she goes back and she lets Sigfredo know that there's some money that could come to him if he goes and takes care of this hit. Then he turns around and he gets his best bud, Louis Rivera, who's a Latin Kings guy. And together they agree to do this hit. Okay. Katie Magbanowa was just a roll in the hay to Charlie. That's all she was. He never took any of these women seriously. He didn't. He loved Asian women too. Now, how ironic that he would love to go to South America. And I even heard things like Thailand and Vietnam predominantly preferred Asian women. However, no Asian woman in Charlie's life was ever taken more seriously than a lay. That's all they were. They were just a lay and somebody to have fun with. And we've heard on phone calls with Donna about how Charlie's talking about how he doesn't want to get married. He doesn't want to settle down. He prefers a woman that is young, that has not had kids. Now, granted, Katie had kids, but that's right there. That tells you that he would have never married her because she had kids with somebody else. So he was just using her and getting what he wanted from her, and then kept her around longer because she was going to take care of this problem for him. I think Katie really wanted something serious with him. And I think all the women that I'm about to talk about all wanted something serious with him. And the joke was on them, right? They thought they were the only one, but he was just the biggest cheater. And you know what? Katie was a cheater too. But I don't even think Charlie cared. I think if Katie had said, hey, I'm, sleeping with my ex again also, I think he'd be like, I don't care, right? I think at one point he even said that Katie said, hey, what's going on between us? And he was like, I'm sorry. I'm not into that. I'm not looking to settle down. After the July 2014 murder that she sets up by utilizing Sigfredo and Louis Rivera, Charlie ends up keeping her close because he has to, right? She did this murder for him. So she's like in the best position if you're a money grubbing. Yeah. He put her on the payroll. 44 checks are written to her from Donna Adelson, and he buys her trips. She's looking to take a trip with her mom. Then when she needs a car, he gives her Harvey's car. I mean, cash perks, trips, boob job, the whole 9 yards. She was just milking it for whatever she could get. So Katie was never going to complain too much because she was being taken care of, Eventually, we all know she testified against Charlie and tied him to the plot. So Katie was the first girl. Right after Katie, he dated Whitney Kick. I am going to tell you that God bless this girl because there is no info for her out there. And thank goodness, because I think she, dodged a bullet, this girl. The relationship was considered more significant than Katie's. Apparently, he took her way more seriously. This was like during July 2014. But, here she is, beautiful girl, dodged a bullet. Let's move on. Next, we have June Umchinda. She was a realtor, a beauty pageant contestant also, dating Charlie after Whitney Kick. She traveled internationally with him. He was buying her like jewelry and Louis Vuitton bags, and they were going out on the boat together. And I got to tell you guys, I feel so sorry for June Umchinda. So she still has pictures up on her Facebook of her and Charlie going way back. I mean, tons of pictures. And these pictures display this luxurious lifestyle. And then she moved into his house with him at Whale Harbor. And the girl was clueless. She literally had no idea what was going on. She thought that this was like her future husband. And all of a sudden, 2017 comes around and he starts acting crazy. He's like walking around the house with a gun. He's being snippy with June. He is acting very, very strange, pacing around the house at night. She's not sure what's going on. My heart goes out to this girl. Like, I think her and her family really thought that she found this great guy, a dentist who makes good money, and he's going to take care of June for the rest of his life. She ends up watching her man on 2020. Okay? Charlie rarely would talk to her about what had happened. And then she hears about this girl, Katie, that he's talking to on the phone. Because obviously, Charlie and Katie, they were talking for a while and trying to figure out how to handle this situation because they were getting caught. Before Katie was arrested, he was visiting and meeting up with Katie. Well, he was keeping all this under wraps from June because, for obvious reasons, right? The biggest thing with June that stood out for me was two things. The conversation with Donna on the balcony of the Miami condo, where she said, Dan Markel is haunting me from the grave, and started crying to June. That ended up being like a bombshell testimony from June. So she was really, really important. But what I will say is this. She was still in love with Charlie. You could see it at those trials. When she testified, you could see that June Umchinda was still in love with Charlie and was really struggling to come clean about what she knew. From what I have read, June Umchinda has a wonderful family. She's got great supportive friends. She is a good girl. She really is. She's a good girl, and she's got caught up in a nasty mess. And I wish nothing but the best for her. I heard she is a realtor now, and she's doing great. And hopefully she has found another man, a partner that is not a murderer. Now, sadly enough, What broke up June and Charlie was the fact that he decided to have a fling with Brianna Price and got her pregnant. And then when the choice came, when Brianna said, I'm having the baby, and the choice came between June and Bree, Charlie chose Bree. So June was out. And that was a horrible, horrible thing that happened to her. And Brianna sure sounds like a gold digger to me. So Brianna Price was a nanny / housekeeper for Dave Eitel. And Dave Eitel was one of Wendy's boyfriends back around 2017. Interestingly enough, did Wendi set them up? I don't know. Because how would Charlie have met Bree if it wasn't for Wendi, right? Charlie did not want to have a baby with her, did not want the responsibility. But according to sources, she said, I'm having it. So he left June and started dating Brianna. But what a lot of people don't know is he was cheating on Brianna with other women. There was a girl named Erica I heard about. And then there's this girl, Dr. Janice Manilang. Okay, this is a psychologist who specializes in family dysfunction. So my question is, was Charlie going to therapy at this time? Because it kind of is around the same time that the arrests happen of Katie. And I thought to myself, did he go see a psychologist about family dysfunction and then decided to sleep with her? And by the way, she's Asian. Here you go. So this woman moves in to Charlie's house after June leaves. And then when Charlie gets arrested, he ends up calling Janice as well. And there's wiretap calls between him and Janice. I mean, what a mess this guy is, right? Seriously. So after the arrest, she manages the property. She helps sell his boat and then continues to call him on these jail calls. It's mind-blowing. Take a listen.
Hey.
Hey.
Babe.
So I just wanted to call you. I'm not really in the mood for talking, but I just wanted to call you.
I know. Thank you for calling me.
So.
Is there anything that I need to do?
Okay. Make sure the boat don't sink. So surreal. Like.
So true.
Just all the stuff that they used in that closing, like everything was, there was nothing, it was all just like cutting pieces from like phone conversations that like taking everything out of context, like talking about my sister's book, talking about my mom's emails, talking about her birthday present for my dad, like assuming that the birthday present was something that it wasn't. Like,
right. No, I know. They turned everything and flipped it.
It was like everything was being spun. I mean, even like lie after lie after lie after spun after taken out of context. Oh, I'm buying presents for Sigfredo Garcia, and my best friend is saying I'm saying this, and my sister's saying this, and Jeff Lacoste is saying this, and like, and look at these emails. The emails, like, number one, I didn't write the fucking emails. Number two, none of the ideas were even done on the emails. So somebody's coming up with stupid ideas that nobody does. That's your point? I don't understand. Look at how crazy these ideas are.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I was literally like, crazy. Yeah, I know. As you said that. See, I'm
Whoa.
Crazy. Deranged thought.
Right.
Like, okay, well, I admit there were crazy ideas, and none of them were done because they were crazy ideas. He's basically saying that push his buttons and he's pushing your buttons. Like, be a jerk to him. Like, but we didn't do it, and they didn't do it, and that was the extent of it. It wasn't like we were sitting there shopping for Hitler Youth costumes at Target.
Right. Why does she keep? Yeah, I was like, dude, why are you bringing this shit up? And you kept saying, you were like, it's not. It was an expression with the whole Nazi thing, and I'm like, why is she keep running this to the ground?
She would use it to say, like, I'm going to go crazy on them. So then I was like,
right,
saying,
no,
like,
I know. No, I know. But I'm just saying, yeah.
To say kill, I was using it to say, like, the Nazis were crazy people. Like, this person to go Nazi on them would be to go crazy on them. It was an adjective used in that sense. Like, that's it.
Right. Right.
Like, I'm trying to say I've had enough. Like,
You notice they all just agree with him on these calls. They're all just kissing his butt.
taking it out of context, giving it a new meaning, questioning me about the practices of Nazi, and like tying me in with that. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like that's you're taking it out of context and why I was saying it. Like you've got the FBI pretending to be gang members threatening you. Like I've had enough. Like I can't. I mean, honestly, like I just was so positive and everything, and then Sunday night I fucking gave away all my canteen, thinking like I was gonna get it out. I'll be gone tomorrow.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's another call where Donna and him are talking about trying to get rid of Janice and that they want her out of the house because she's residing at Will Harbor and they don't want her there anymore. Because he didn't give a crap about her either, guys. I mean, so there's a correlation between the fact that he would go overseas to different locations in South America, primarily Asian women, right? And then he dates or sleeps around with Asian women here in America. And not one of them was good enough to have a child with. And then the one girl that he does have a child with is not Asian. I just thought that was interesting. Did he look at Asian girls as just a piece of meat that he could just use and abuse? None of these women who are Asian were ever going to be wife material because I think he saw them as just, meat, just pieces of meat. So to marry one was not going to fly for Charlie. And he didn't marry Bree, but he had a baby with her. And I just think that that's so ironic. When you look at them all, Bree's the only one who's really not Asian. Now, I will say Whitney Kick does look like maybe she is, I don't know, Dominican or something like that. I don't know for sure. So I just want to point that out there. I think he violated Asian women and saw them as just a means to have fun and use them. So Charlie definitely had a way with women. And I feel really sorry for a lot of them because I think they got sucked in by his money and his charm and got screwed over in the end. The last person I want to talk about is Scott Radius. He is a friend and part of the Vietnam connection. So a friend and business associate, he had invested with him in like a timeshare property in Vietnam. And the only way you can do that and be able to move to Vietnam is if you know somebody, I believe, that is Vietnamese. So Scott Radius's wife was Vietnamese, from what I understand. So they were able to get this property for future use or possibly to move there in the future, as we all know. And he had put like a down payment of $100,000 to $140,000 to put on this property and gave that money to Scott Radius. And then eventually Harvey tries to get it back and Scott Radius doesn't give it back to him. So that is a major feud between the Adelsons and Scott Radius. He ends up being on the witness list at some point, but has not been called. So we probably won't ever see him ever, and we'll never know. And maybe he'll come out and talk and give an interview now that that's pretty much behind him, because I don't think he could ever be a witness for Wendi. Actually, if they ever try Harvey, Scott Radius could come forward for that. So anyway, media speculation, though, had suggested that Radius had flipped off the prosecution about Donna's plans to move to Vietnam and that it was Scott Radius that let them know. So that is interesting. And I look, I don't want to assume what really went on in that whole scenario with the money and the property that they were trying to secure. But it sounds to me like if Scott Radius did not want to give all that money back and wanted to pocket that money and take advantage of the Adelsons, what a beautiful thing to do, right? Is to tell on them and get them arrested for trying to flee the country, because if they get arrested, they're not going to care about Scott Radius paying them back that money anymore, right? And Charlie's already in jail, so Scott Radius technically gets away with stealing $100,000 to $140,000 if that is what happened. It's really too bad that Scott Radius was not called for Donna's trial. We would have loved to have heard this story and find out exactly what went on with this deal. But if it wasn't for Scott and a wiretap call with her talking about Vietnam, she might not have ever gotten arrested. So he ended up being pretty useful and pretty important to this whole case. So that brings us up to Donna's trial, right? So Charlie is sitting in jail and currently awaiting an appeal and is transported from his jail to Leon County Jail during Donna's trial. All of us were anticipating that he would testify. And during his transport, there is a famous video footage out there, and God bless those people who put them out there. I think it was Tanika 2 Cents put it out there. You go, girl. That video was amazing. Thank you so much. Well, he stopped at Wendy's. They stopped to get him food at Wendy's, and he literally ate Wendy's, and we watched him eat Wendy's. The irony on that. Turns out they didn't use him in the trial for Donna. We really wanted to see him. We wanted to see what was going to happen, but at the end of the day, they decided not to call him. He would have probably only been able to be a rebuttal witness, and chances were he was going to fight that and plead the fifth anyway. He was not going to help his mother. Signs are only telling us that he doesn't care about his mother anymore. He has clearly been institutionalized. He looks like he's going crazy. He's got this darkness in his eyes now. He's screaming through his jail cell, "You busted up my toe." And calling people the N-word, apparently, also, which I don't think that would sound like Charlie back then, do you? I mean, he's obviously changed. He's in there for good. And I think he's cracking, guys. I do. I still believe wholeheartedly that there is a chance that he could turn this around and say, you know what? I'm here for life if I do nothing. So why not? I'm just going to flip on my sister. I can't stand her anyway. She never came and visited me. And like I said before, I really do think that there was a little bit of revenge on Wendy's part towards Charlie. I think he was expendable to her. So Charlie Adelson's final curtain has not been drawn, I don't think. And I think we need to pay attention because he is not done. Now, if his appeal is denied, that is when we all need to be listening. Eyes open, ears listening. He could very well flip on Wendi, and we need to pay close attention to that. He's got nothing to lose. She didn't care about him anyway. I mean, Wendi should be kicking herself in the butt for not going to visit him because that is sticking with him. So I will close out this video by saying that I think Charlie Adelson is a very sad, tragic story. I don't think any of this would have happened if it wasn't for Donna. I don't think if even Wendi had been the one to ask him, hey, can you take care of my ex-husband? He would have been like, just divorce him. Just deal with it. People get divorced all the time. Learn to co-parent with him. Do something. I'm not going to do something like that for you. But I think the fact that Donna asked is really the key here. And Wendi not giving a crap about him, not even visiting him or asking about him, is staying with him. So we'll just have to see in the coming days, weeks, months, however long it takes, to see if he's going to speak up. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share, and I will see you next time.